You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins, because we're talking about a player that's currently on the Dolphins that's been eyed by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now that Aaron Rodgers is officially in the fold, the Steelers may or may not be looking for another weapon. Now, Jonnu Smith, hey, he had a really, really damn good year last year. He's had a couple of good years in his career. He was straight trash, homie, with the New England Patriots. Trust me on this one. And I don't know why. I don't know why they couldn't make it work. Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry should have been like a pretty good 1-2 punch. Nah, they didn't get him the ball. At least he didn't catch that much. And look, the Steelers fans thought that they had the tight end situation on lock, right? Pat Freiermuth, pretty good tight end. Okay, pretty good. And then they drafted Darnell Washington, who was supposed to be a complete stud. Except he hasn't been, and they're not feeding him the ball. So, how does this relate around to the Dolphins? Well, Jonnu Smith is on the Dolphins. And he is not at mandatory minicamp. All right, as these trade talks are floating around out there. All right. So here we go with on-again, off-again talks regarding Dolphins trading tight end Jonnu Smith. Smith has decided not to attend this week's mandatory minicamp. Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel confirmed today Smith will not participate. When asked why, McDaniel declined to get into specifics, but said there has been communication between the team and the player. Quote, "You will not see Jonnu on the field today or this week." He just proactively fired the rest of the week out, too, McDaniel said. "That's something we've been in communication with, and I don't really need to get into personal matters. I'm not really hiding anything. It's just not about today. I'm better suited to answer questions about that." Smith signed a 2-year, $8.4 million deal with the Dolphins last year and had a good first season. 88 catches, that was career high, for 884 yards, I believe that was career high, and 8 touchdowns, that was tied for a career high. He was the Dolphins' only Pro Bowler. But Smith reportedly wants a pay raise in the second year of his deal, and that could make the Dolphins decide to trade him to a team willing to pay him what he's asking for. McDaniels previously said Smith is an important player in the Dolphins offense. Trading him is not a focus of the Dolphins. That could change, however, if the sides can't come to a new contract. He's 29 years old. He was a third-round pick for the Titans. So, here we are. All right. And he was hot garbage with the New England Patriots. He really was. But then you've got that season. You come down here, he had 8 touchdowns in his last season for the Titans, but it's at 41, 28, and 27. That's probably 35. That's got the Dolphins worried right now because let's be honest, that's an outlier-looking season. It just is. In fact, the per catch yardage, was actually down from the year before with the Falcons. So Freiermuth, in case you're wondering, 65 for 653, 7 touchdowns, exactly the same yards per catch as Jonnu. And then Darnell Washington, he had 19 catches for 200 at 10.5 yards per catch and 1 TD. That's not great. That is not great at all. In case you're wondering, PFF, Jonnu Smith was the 5th ranked tight end in the league. Now, again, their system is not the end-all, be-all. How do I know? How about Austin Hooper being ranked the 6th best tight end when Isaiah Lackley, TJ Hawkinson, and Sam Laporta easily had better years? Yeah, Austin Hooper had a pretty decent year. Pretty good. He had a pretty good year. He didn't have the year that these other three guys I just gave you had. All right. And oh, how the mighty have fallen. Look where Travis Kelce is now. Oof. Oof. In case you're wondering, Darnell Washington 17th on this. Pat Freiermuth 24th. So again, you can see how their system is flawed because I mean, Freiermuth just was a better player last year than Darnell Washington was. So the question is, and you may be like, well, why are they trying to do this? Well, the Steelers want another weapon here. Okay, that's what they're looking for. All right, right here, Smith is wanting to stay in Miami on a rework deal, according to agent Drew Rosenhaus. But if the Dolphins can't get something done, he may be on the move to a team that can give him a new contract. With the Steelers looking to add playmakers on offense for new quarterback Aaron Rodgers and their offensive coordinator's familiarity with Jonnu Smith, he's a real intriguing target and someone who could form a really nice tight end duo with Pat Freiermuth. Okay, well, we hadn't even brought that up yet, but Arthur Smith, right, was the offensive coordinator with the Tennessee Titans. And in fact, I imagine he's not going back to the Patriots, but Mike Vrabel's probably thinking, damn, I've got a couple of tight ends on this team. Hunter Henry's a good tight end. Austin Hooper's an okay tight end, but Jonnu Smith's already been a Patriot. So I don't see that, and it didn't go well. So I don't see that door reopening, even with the Mike Vrabel connection. So, yeah, the offensive coordinator connection does make sense there. It does. The Steelers have engaged with the Dolphins multiple times on trade talks, and those could pick up again today with Jonnu Smith being absent for minicamp. And, of course, it goes on to talk about T.J. Watt not being at camp right now. And so it says whether or not the holdout from minicamp would cause the Dolphins to want to sort of speed talks up, or whether or not it makes them inclined to give him a contract and keep him, I don't know. Now, it's pretty clear. I mean, Mike McDaniel's system fit him pretty well this past season. But, again, what if it's an outlier kind of year? Let's be honest. Jonnu Smith looks more like a 45-catch, 500-yard, 4 or 5 touchdown kind of dude. Now, if you pair him with Freiermuth, okay, you may have something there. How's that going to go with Aaron Rodgers? I remember Aaron Rodgers seemed to really like Mercedes Lewis at one time, and that was a guy that he liked quite a bit. Now, that's not saying they're going to go grab him, but I'm just saying it was a guy that he liked in the past, I know. So, going to be interesting. Going to be interesting to see where this goes. If you're a Steelers fan, do you want Jonnu Smith? Tell me in the conversation below. Again, it didn't go great with the Patriots, but that was Mac Jones and a lot of drama at the offensive coordinator position for the Patriots. Let's just put it that way. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.